Greetings, everyone. This is Mark Hoplamazian, and very unfortunately, I am speaking to you from my home in Chicago. I am homebound, literally, because of a, unfortunately, pretty significant back problem I had this past week. So if I'm shifting a little bit, it's because I'm still coping with some pain. But I'm so regretful that I cannot be there. You have no idea how much I was looking forward to it. I'm getting regular input and feedback from the Hyatt team in Singapore, attendees there, and of course, even it's reaching back into our teams in Chicago. The expertise, the energy, and the commitment to the future of this industry is alive and well, and I really am grateful that you're all committing the time to do this. Had I been able to be there, I was planning to just share with you a little bit about my own journey, my personal journey, in the space of wellness and well-being. Is quite personal, but I think that if you are trying to do something commercially, it's often essential to actually be able to relate to it individually. So I thought I would just tell you a little bit about how that started. Keep it brief. Among other things, I'm not completely comfortable as I stand here, but you'll bear with me. So thanks for the empathy. So you all know that I've been president and CEO of Hyatt for almost 13 years, and as you know, it's a demanding job, a job that requires a lot of travel, and it's a hectic schedule. So a number of years ago, I would say it's 4.5 years ago, thereabouts, I made a decision that I would actually try to carve some time out to be by myself and reflect. I had heard about the benefits of silent retreats that individuals had taken, and I thought maybe I would give it a try. So I had a trip that I knew I had to take from Chicago to the West Coast. It was in January. And I decided that I would give it a try. And I sat down with my coach at the time, and she advised me on some basically helping hints, like things that I should pay attention to help me make it a productive time. Very simple, though. It was not complicated. There wasn't a rule book. It was all mostly based on breathing. So I stopped in Colorado Springs, which is on the way to the West Coast, which is where I was going. And I found a golf resort, of all places, that I figured would have nobody there because it was January in Colorado. And I was right. So it was wonderful because I had, the place to myself effectively. And I reflected on some of the guidance that I got from my coach. And when I got there, I sat down and I started to engage. And the first thing I started thinking about was, okay, so if I'm supposed to focus on my breathing, but my coach said, don't count your breathing, what am I supposed to do? Like when you say notice my breathing, what are the things that I'm supposed to notice? Like what am I supposed to catalog for the future? So you can tell that my left brain had completely taken over, and I was processing stuff to try to know what to do. And then, as I sat down, I thought, okay, is it okay to take my shoes off? Am I supposed to have my eyes open or closed? And this persisted for a while. So I was like really uncomfortable. And then I started trying to distract myself. I looked at my watch. Unfortunately, I had an analog watch back then, not an Apple Watch, so not so much distraction. I put my watch away after that because it wasn't really helpful to me. And then my brain took over, and I started cataloging all the things that I could have and should have been doing instead of sitting there not doing much of anything other than staring at the wall in front of me. And this persisted the rest of that day and into the next morning. And the whole time, of course, I'm sitting there saying, wait, what? Am I doing this right? And you can tell that that's not a productive way to start to try to find a peaceful state in your mind. But then I think it was pretty much, I had exhausted all the other avenues that I had identified to distract myself. And then about 2 or 3 p.m., about 2:30, I think it was, the following day, it was a Saturday afternoon, and I ended up in a state of self-reflection that is hard to explain unless you've had the experience yourself. But what I would say is that all of a sudden, I was able to notice things that were coming into my mind, and I was able to dismiss them, which is pretty powerful. And what then happened is that I started making a bunch of associations and connections that never occurred to me before. Excuse me. And I would just say that the insights that I achieved at that point were super meaningful and new and impactful to my life thereafter. So what I would say is it was unusual in the impact that it had, but also the baseline that it set for what I was able to tap into, like a new source of energy and power that I had not realized that I had before. And so, during times of stress, like when your back is in pain, like I am right now, it's super powerful to be able to calm your mind and help that be a part of the healing process. So, to me, this was the beginning of my awareness about what the power of mindfulness can be. I think I still don't know what I would call that, other than I guess many people call that meditation. I've been able to actually practice this again since then, much more productively. Even with an Apple Watch, I was able to put it away and not get distracted the second time around like I was the first. So the practice becomes more effective and more powerful. Excuse me. So so why am I telling you this story? First, it is my own personal journey, and so thank you for bearing with that. But it really had a huge impact on our purpose journey at Hyatt, because when we started thinking about care at the center of everything that we did, this idea of being able to be present and mindful as a means to actually identifying what you can be doing for others, frankly, and what you can be doing for yourself to begin with, was a huge unlock. It really informed our early decisions about what brands we would acquire, because this sense of mindfulness and being mindfulness at the center of what we do, whether it's fitness or spa, whether it's Miraval or Exhale or what we're doing in our Hyatt hotels, it all was in this white space of mindfulness that we believed we could really make a difference. And a lot of that had to do with my own personal experience in it. But now, with Mia's help and with the team's help, we've translated it into a full-blown approach to how we can elevate well-being at Hyatt internally with our colleagues, at our hotels and other places where we are touching our guests and our customers, and ultimately for the benefit of our owners, because we're tapping into something that is a massive trend that is here to stay. This is not a fad. This is not, and I'm not just talking about mindfulness, I'm talking about a state of well-being in general, whether that's movement or fitness or nutrition or mental state, emotional state, spiritual state. It's holistic. And everyone that I talk to is recognizing the power and the benefit of it. And you can tell from my own personal story what an impact it had for me. And I think that that's actually the impact that we can have on many, many others. So our commitment is to really identify how we can bring that state of well-being into what we do every day, have an impact on those that we care about, which includes all of the constituents I just mentioned, and to really elevate what we do to care for people so they can be their best. So that's a quick backdrop as to why we are where we are as a company and some of the inputs that led us to really clarify and crystallize what our purpose really could mean in the context of business. And a lot of what we are now doing is translating that into actual products and services that we can really make available to our colleagues first, and then to our guests and customers to really have an impact. So that's our story. That's my story, at least at this point. Very regretful that I cannot be there. Thank you for your patience in hearing my initial story. And I wish you all the best, and I'll turn it back to Mia now. Thank you.